Today we're going to be talking with one of the best underdog stories I think in Zed Run to date. He came in with a fairly small budget of 1.5 ETH, which 1.5, it's a relatively small budget when you look at some of the stables that have horses of his caliber. And came in, didn't know a lot, took big swings, paid off early, and it just continues to pay off. Now he's doing a daily show Monday through Friday, interviewing and talking to some of the best minds in the game. And I'm really excited about this conversation that I had with Jereck from Evergreen Stables. All right, so today joining me from the other side of the country, we got Jereck from Evergreen Stables here. How's it going, my man?
Good. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. So you've been in Zed Run for about how long now?
I came into Zed Run in August, so right after the $20 million funding, but right before the NASCAR partnership announcement.
Okay, so breeding was completely live when you got in then.
Yep. I bought my first horse, was a bred horse.
All right, now your first horse was Diamondz?
Yes, sir.
What luck, what luck. Did you do a lot of
Yeah, I didn't.
research on that or did you just go for it?
So I mean, I did research on Zed Run coming in, like why I chose a Z2 legendary Nakamoto's. Just when I first came into the game, I saw Nakamoto on the homepage, so I was like, okay, front page, front and center. That's obviously the best horse or best bloodline of horse. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with Nakamoto. I didn't have funds to get a Z1 Genesis. That was like 20 ETH at the time, especially in August. Like this is right at the beginning of the crazy bull run. So like
Mm-hmm.
things were going crazy at this time. So I was like, I'll go with Nakamoto. I can't get a Z1 Genesis. I can't get a Z2 Genesis. And I'm only working. When I came into the game, I said I'm going to have like 1.5 ETH budget. And I had like 3 ETH in total. And so I was like, okay, I'll spend my 1 point some ETH on a Z2 Nakamoto. Why a Z2? Because I can't buy a Z1. But if I looked at these Z1s as super athletes, LeBron James could be like one parent and Serena Williams could be another parent. Now, a super billionaire offered offered LeBron James and Serena Williams to breed just because they're super athletes. So I was like, all right, well, what would a super athlete horse look like? That would probably be a Z2 because you can't make the Z1s. So I just went on OpenSea. The Z2 legendary floor was 1.1 unraced, unnamed, and I just liked this alabaster coat horse. Bought that horse. I clicked on it. I was like, oh, it kind of looks like Diamondz or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Diamond was taken. Diamondz with a S was taken. Slapped on a Z, and we're good. And here we are.
Now, how do you feel about buying? Well, obviously Diamonds worked out pretty well, but the price difference in Z2 legendaries compared to what you paid for it.
I mean, if I liked it then, I like it. I'd like it now.
Oh
I
yeah,
now see that it's I got massively lucky. Like I see like not every Z2 unnamed you buy is gonna be of Diamond's caliber. But if I had the liquidity to go and buy some more Z2s, I probably would. I would research the parents more because when I bought Diamonds, I didn't even know you could research the parents. So I would
okay.
probably do a little bit more research, probably talk to Dan Chan or something like that to dial in on what Z2 to get. But uh if I liked it at 1.1, I like him at point 0.4, you know?
Right. And you're like you're stable. I've always kind of watched it ever since I saw your first Zed Run video. It's a pretty interesting story because you were at almost half an ETH profit in your first, I think, 42 races. So what was kind of your strategy coming in to cap that much money that quick?
I wanted to come in and compete with the big dogs right away. So and that's where I think Zed needs to fix, but I'll get back to that later. But I wanted to come in and compete with the big dogs, right? So me coming in as a new guy, not knowing anything about the game, I'm thinking, why don't you want to be in class one? Like my whole thing is like I want to go to class one and compete against the best. Why? Because that's where the best horses are. That's just my rookie mindset looking at a game. It would just make sense that the best horses are in class one. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go big money. I'm gonna go big money, and I'm gonna go race against the best horses because I won my Griffin or something like that, and then I won another race, and but
Mm-hmm.
Diamondz came back from like 12th with a crazy kick and totally dusted the field. So then I went into Discord a little bit, like asked people about it, and they said he was a good horse. And then Ryan from Know Your Horses, uh, I was like, can you guys look at my horse Diamondz? And he sent me a DM. He was like, larger stables are gonna come for your horse. And I felt like kid at Charlie the Chocolate Factory or whatever who got the golden
Yeah.
ticket, like someone just told me I got the golden ticket and he's like, run home. And I was like, all right, I'm running home. So on my way home, like the next day I wake up and I have a 3 Ethereum offer on Diamondz. And
Oof.
I paid 1.1 for it. This is 3 ETH. Let me go look at this wallet. I've done my research on the game. I've listened to podcasts. I've heard people talk about Vanilla Bean. I mean, I'm kind of going back a little bit deeper
Mm-hmm.
into like the origin story, but this is how I like go and race for big money. I realized that the wallet that's offering me the 3 ETH, and then it turned to 5, and then 5.5 to 7 to 8. This wallet had Marajo, LBJ Goat, Princess of Power, and I was like, okay, this is this person that they're talking about, like that owns all these horses. So I was like, okay, well, I have a good horse then. I was like, you just told me right
Yeah.
there, like you just told me I have a good horse. So, and then the Ryan from Know Your Horses told me that it's good horse. I was like, all right, I'm going big money. And so I went like $500 race, $50 races, $100 races, and I just ran up crazy profit really quick.
Now, if you wouldn't have looked it up, or if Ryan wouldn't have reached out, would you have taken that 3 ETH offer, you think?
If I didn't know about the game, or like if I hadn't looked up like arbitrage, like because I'd heard about these horses by just listening to like Zed News
Oh,
Network
yeah.
and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd known about these horses. So I knew that like this person offering me knew something that I didn't know.
Right.
So I just asked myself, could I live with myself? This is my first horse. Could I live with myself if I sold this horse and it turns out to be like a top 10 horse? And I continue to play the game. Like, what? You'll probably never be able to get that back. So I just asked myself, will I be able to live with myself if I sold that? So
Yeah. Now, how quickly after seeing that early success did you go for another lottery ticket, and was it successful?
the second one wasn't successful. So I
No.
got Diamondz, and people told me it was a good horse, all that stuff. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, like I have to get another Z2 unnamed or unraced female to build this out. Now, this is right before the digital derby, right? Like they've announced it and all the horse or the lineups, like the teams are all announced and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but that's kind of like different. But I'm looking at the market and I see like they're all named. So the second Z2 I bought, the second lotto ticket I bought wasn't unnamed, it was named. So there's Hi Ho Silver and Sluzz Bucket, right? And so I'm
Right.
like, okay, so there's Hi Ho Silver for 1.6. It's named, but it hasn't ran its Griffin. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of want to scratch that ticket off just because I like to do that. But Sluzz Bucket was 1.8 and it had ran its Griffin and it won. But I was like, I don't like the name. I was like, I don't like the name. I don't think that this horse is gonna be able to like compete in tournaments because that's just like I don't think a race caller is gonna say that. So I went
Right.
and bought Hi Ho Silver, and Royd Rager buys Sluzz Bucket. And then he puts Sluzz Bucket into the digital derby, and I'm like, God damn it, I was wrong. Because the race announcer is like, Sluzz Bucket down the field, Sluzz Bucket. I'm like, I could have came into this game with 2 top 100 horses and just been set.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. And it's fun too, because if I look at your profit and loss chart, right? Like there's a lot of highs and lows, but you can kind of see what I think are like learning curves. Because, in your first 40 races or so, you quickly go up to almost a half an ETH. And then 30 races later, you're back down to zero point 0.1. But then you only drop below zero point 0.1 one more time in like your next 200 races. And then your new point of resistance is like zero point 0.3 is your low. And then 400 races later, you're back at 0.5 as your new low. So like there's definitely these gradual gains of where you allow your profit to drop. What's changed in your race strategy from then till now?
Coming into the game, I was like, I have a U-shaped horse, like I can win anywhere against anyone. So I was like, all right. If you look, my losses aren't like slow declines; they're straight drops because I'll
Yeah.
enter, I'll enter like $500 races. I'll enter the big races, and
Mm-hmm.
so coming in, I was like, I'm just gonna race at any distance. Now, Arbitrage had told me Diamondz is a middle distance horse.
Mm-hmm.
I never think what someone tells me is the truth. I think like, oh, like maybe he's telling me that because he really is 1,000 and he wants me to not win money and compete against him because this was like class 2, class 3 days.
Yeah.
But Diamondz is a middle distance horse. I'm just arrogant. So I was like, I'm gonna race wherever I want. So I'd race 1400 meters against Y2K2K, one of the best 1400-meter horses, and I've written him like a 1.5K check, like three
Donations.
$500 checks. Yeah. Just because I'm out here just trying to not knowing what I'm doing, just blindly racing, blindly racing. So I think once I kind of like finally saw, no, it was the first tournament. The first tournament when they brought out the free races, I raced at 1800 meters and I got like 12, 8th, something like that. So I was like, all right, I know I'm a mid distance horse because Arbitrage told me now,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like 1800 meters is just too much variance. And then I'd heard people saying that 1600 meters there's no distance preference, and we saw that with the low cut line or the low qualifying line within the tournament compared to the sprinters and to the marathon horses. So I was like, all right, well, if I just have a high base ability horse, then I should just run 1600 meters free and I'm going to win most of the time. And if you look at the 1600-meter free chart on Diamondz, that's mostly like that's where I'm going to try and qualify him for the tournament. So once I saw he was a 1600-meter free horse, I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to race him $500 1600 meters. But the caveat to that is if I have a bunch of ones, like if I got a bunch of first, second, third, fourths, I won't do it. I'll go kind of like card counting. I'll wait till I get a bunch of 12s, 11s, 9s, 10s. So I'm thinking like, oh, I have a bunch of good rolls coming. So I'll save the good rolls for the high money and then try and get my low rolls out on the $10, or they brought back the $2.50s today. So those type of races.
Yeah, and all my horses are variance horses. There's not very many that have any type of distance preference that's going to matter. And I'm kind of the same way, but except for I'm doing it in like class 5. So like I know if I have a bunch of points, I'm going to lose, so play cheap. And then I know if I'm at 0 points, the wins are coming, so go ahead and take bigger swings. And it's funny how it's sometimes that simple. You just don't know when that swing's coming.
Right. And you don't know that when you first come into the game, right? Cuz like I mean, well, people have figured out the shapes of horses, the L shapes, the A shapes, the
Mm-hmm.
U shapes. So like as a new beginner, if you do your research, you'll know what to look for, like your potentials of a horse, but you don't know like if your horse is a synthetic U, if it's a raw U. So you've got to figure that stuff out as a new player. So how'd you figure out a natural, or you had a natural U-shaped horse when you got into the game?
Um, so it wasn't actually until probably closer to Flames that I understood my horses. Just because odds were confusing. Because all my horses were high variance, I had essentially the same odds across the board. And that just made it difficult to pick where to win because my best horse at the time, she would win, in 1200 meters, but then I'd throw in her 2600-meter race just to see what happened because she'd have, same odds and she'd win that too. And it's like,
Mm.
okay, so what the heck am I doing here? Like, is she an any distance horse or what does that mean? And then I'd throw in like a 2000-meter race and she'd win that. And so it wasn't until Flames came out and I saw that she had like 0 flames longer than 1600. But then if I looked at her flame data, she had like a 5% flame rate at 1200 meters and like a 12% flame rate at 100 or 1000. And as soon as I started racing exclusively 1000 and 1200, she went up to almost a 20% win rate. And now with a lot of the changes and the updates, she's down to about 13%, but she still wins money pretty decent at the low tiers. And I had another horse like that too. My one exclusive, he was like like almost 9 even odds across the board. And then I threw him in class one a bunch of times just to see what would happen. And even in class ones, he wasn't pushing past like 14, 15. And didn't matter what distance I was running him in, unless it was a really strong race. Like if I put him in sprint against Billions, which is actually his down button, he was pulling like 20s. But still, like going from a class 5 to racing against Billions and only getting pushed to 20, like that was confusing as hell.
Mm.
So I didn't really understand the whole concept until I was probably at like 600, 700 races, and Flames came out.
Yeah. When people say they can understand a horse in 50 races, I'm just kind of like, I get it. Maybe like a arbitrage and all those guys that are like pros at it, because they're probably like a pro NFL scout
Mm-hmm.
like team. That's what they do for horses. But for me, yeah, it took me like 500 races to like actually know how to race. And when you say how to race, that's distance, how to be patient to when it's 11 out of 12 and it's not your distance, but you want to fill it, but you
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't because it's not your distance. Do that. Um, Studying your fields, using stack knacks. If you go to your head-to-head competition on Know Your Horses and see that this certain horse most likely is going to beat you, like you might want to stay out of there. So a lot goes into learning how to race.
Yeah, definitely a lot. And like one of the things too that I really didn't dial in my one horse Mom Thought was I didn't dial him in until the tournament. And that was just because he's such a high variance horse, his fastest times at 2000 2200 are really fast. Um, like really fast for what he is and what he competes against normally. But he doesn't do that often. But a lot of times when I'm using the Stack Nax extension, he'll have the fastest fast time. He'll have the 12th average. So I know in that race I'm either a first or 12th. So as long as I don't see anything that's just a complete like never enter against that horse, I have a shot to win it, but I also have an equal shot to lose. To where if I see that he's more of a middle of the pack, he's the third fastest fast time and like the sixth fastest average, I'm probably not going to win that race. I might place, but there's no shot of me winning. So it was
Which
kind of
one do you go big money on? Do you go big money? Would you rather say flip of a quarter and win or lose, or would you rather say I would rather just place? Like say I give you $500 and it's your distance at your buy-in. Are you gonna take the place horse or the first or last horse into that
uh,
race?
with the current point system that they just implemented with the 6 points for first place. I have to win. Like there's no point for me coming in second place to get 4 points for a second place on purpose. Like if I'm gonna have to downclass my horse and 7th through 12th is the same amount of points, even though it's easier to hit that down button because you have more of a range now, like it's still gonna take me 2 races. So I'd much rather swing for the fences on something I have a chance to win versus something that I'm likely to place in.
Okay. So if you were gonna go big money, you would just say I'd take the shot 50-50, first or last.
Yep. Yeah, that's how I would do
Yeah,
it.
me too.
And
Me
the one
too.
thing too that I think is important for new people coming in, just because a horse places second or third often, doesn't mean you have a shot to win. I don't know how many times I've seen horses with like a place rate of like almost 60% in the first 50 races, but never win a race after 100.
Yeah, it's more like what do they call them? Like the ham bone horses that are
Mm-hmm.
just like very. They say like these horses have high base ability just because they place a lot. They're very left leaning horses.
Yeah.
Hard to be profitable though, right?
Yeah, especially once you start getting into like higher amounts of races. Like I found it really interesting what happened with a lot of my horses after like 120 races. Um, and I don't have a lot of horses, mind you, so it's a pretty small sample size. But I was able to fake what I call it faking a 20% win rate up to 100, 120 races. And then that next 100 races was really hard to maintain that type of success. So I feel like a lot of horses, especially variance horses, don't play out until 150, 200 races. At least that's
Yeah.
been my experience based on what I own and the research I've done.
Uh-huh. And if you
So
have a
like I
variance horse, like you might lose. You might lose. Like what was it? Ducky Mallon didn't win a race for 20 races or something like that. Like
yeah,
some horses, if you just have a variance horse, if this game is supposed to go on forever, 20 races is nothing.
no, not at all. How many races are you at total in your stable? Do you know? I'll
It's
look real
if you
quick.
just go look at Diamondz, Diamondz is the stable. Like if he leads the stable. If you look at the profits and loss charts of the stable, it matches Diamondz to a T.
Yeah, I see he's doing well lately. Have you just been on that side of variance? You're at a point 0.8 profit. I think that's the highest I've seen in a long time.
Yep. Well, go look at his charts on Know Your Horses.
Oh, I
It's
was I was doing my research before we got on.
okay. So yeah, I won. I figured out after the free tournament. You'll see like his chart, like most horses that race free to try and qualify. Your chart was just really still. But like
Mm-hmm.
I said, I figured out after the tournament, 1,600 meters, big money after 12s or like after a 12th or a last place. So I went $500, 1,600 meter, and I won. And then I went again and I got second place. So like that shot me up to like point or 1.5 ETH profit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sitting at my computer on Sunday and Zed Run, we talked about this. The Netflix, it's not even really Netflix, it's the Harder They Fall movie that's
Mm-hmm.
associated with Netflix. The movie partnership, um, they said that race was gonna be on the 14th. So they said nothing about it. Like the day of, I'm waking up, I'm complaining, I'm bitching all day on Twitter. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if this is gonna be the biggest race, like, there's no marketing around this at all. So I'm just chilling. I'm watching Naruto versus all, chilling, and then I'm just scrolling through Discord, and Kenny says that there's gonna be an announcement before the race because 2 and 2 will add up afterwards or whatever. So I'm just chilling in Discord. I'm about to take a nap. Literally set my phone, hour, gonna take a nap. And then I'm just still scrolling through and someone says, "Yo, what's up with that prize pool in class 1?" I was like, "What?" I jumped up from my bed so quick. Got up and I had the 3,000 liquidity from winning those 1,600 meters. And it said Redwood City Classic, 1,000 meters, $3,000 buy-in. I was like, fuck it. Like this is history right here. Diamonds is a U shape. I beat Crimson Chin. I beat the best of the best if I can get a good variance roll.
Mm-hmm.
So $3,000 buy-in. I buy into the race. Fucking Diamonds wants to get 12th place, wrong side of the U, and his chart just goes. You can see me win the 3,000. Like there's like 2 days, and then it just goes boop right back down.
Yep.
So I'm like, hey, it is what it is. But if I would have won that, his chart would have shot up to 10 ETH profit. And like that's what I would have got offered by arbitrage and in my DMs. And that's the whole reason why I kept Diamonds and I didn't sell him for 10 ETH is that I have a chance to enter a race like that. But yeah, I'm back to point 0.8 now.
I gotcha. Now, have you looked into Diamonds? Does Diamonds have any direct siblings? Have they recreated Diamonds, or are they all half siblings?
Let's look. He's got. I know Concentrate. The dad is a really good Z1.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that is owned by the factory. Let me look. I own. Does he? I own most of his children, but because I want to control most of the bloodline. Like that's like
Mm-hmm.
I kept him because he's like my base. If I look at this as like a pyramid, and
Yep.
then so I'll build a base out from there. But let me go look at I would look at concentrate and just go look at his offspring.
Yep.
Um,
I'm not seeing. No, I'm
nothing.
surprised they have not tried to recreate Diamondz.
No, not like with the
Mom,
same 2 horse. Yeah. I've thought that as well.
are you planning on buying Mom? I guess is my next question.
Uh, if they're gonna have to like double up this 75K prize pool, make it like 150K, and maybe I'm gonna have to win some more $500 buy-ins. And if I can win one of those races, then we might get a Z1. But I'm not a whale by any means. I'm just a kid that got lucky with a horse, and I just want to compete against the big guys, because there's people got 2 horses into that race, and it was a $3,000 buy-in. I had
Right.
3,500, and that was my whole bankroll. So for
Right.
some people, that's nothing. For me, that was everything. But I can build with a U-shaped horse. You can build $100 into the 3,000. You just gotta know how to play your cards.
Now speak on that a little bit because I know you started with Diamondz and the stable's grown to what are you up to now?
7.
7. Now have you been buying and selling or have you kept everything you purchased?
I've sold 1 horse early just because I wanted to get in on the Riot Racers drop, one of their Genesis drops. So I sold 1 horse, which was a Z3 exclusive named Nordstrom.
Mm-hmm.
Not directly from Diamondz though. So with Diamondz breeding, I've charged like 0.3, 0.35 most of the time. But with my female, I've sold 1 offspring.
Okay. And are you getting a lot of um, sell through on a studs at that price?
Not much, especially with the market the way it is now. But I want people to respect the bloodline. I don't want to price it low and then someone just bring in just like a Z20, like, and just like totally kill the bloodline. And so I charge a fee I think is fair. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and also it makes someone, they're not going to come up with the bullshit horse. If you're going to pay that much money, you better know your horse or feel comfortable keeping the offspring or potentially taking a loss. But you
Right.
have like you might not get a good horse directly off any horse, but you at least you have that blood and can control it. But yeah, I charge 0.35. I don't always get the most hits. I mean, it's mostly from I probably the bigger stables, I guess. Archibald was the last one to breed with Diamondz.
Mm.
And then I'll take the last 2. So I don't like to pay. I don't like to pay, like put them up for more and me pay it. I'll sell the first cover because mostly only one person will take it for the 0.35, and then I take the last 2. So one
Because you
cover
got
and
the money
I'm
from the
good.
one, so it almost covers itself with the current
Yeah,
breeding system.
exactly. So I take one, and then my buddy will take one. So he's building out Diamond's bloodline, keeping the blood, and then we're gonna go into ZG kind of theories, and then try and do some inbreeding, because he's always said like people do it wrong, right? Like people just
Mm-hmm.
aren't doing it right. So honestly, I think if a Z2 Nakamoto, a good horse like Diamond's, that has that base ability at 1,600 meters, will be able to inbreed good horses once we get to like, and we stay in the Nakamoto bloodline once we get to the higher or the genotype numbers.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny you bring that up because like I understand where people are coming from when they're saying that there's no evidence of any type of genetic algorithm, but at the same time, we're not breeding the same horses together enough, I think, to display that either. So I'm still fascinated to see what that type of breeding does, especially because before I started Zed Run, I first heard about it. I'm like, okay, cool. So the best way to get a horse is during the drop. I went and bought the 6 most highest recommended horse breeding books that were ever written, and they weren't cheap. Like some of these books are like $280 a piece. But I knew I was going all in on Zed, and I collect books anyways. So I was like, I'll just add this to the collection, and bought 5 books, read them, and based on everything that I've seen with how they do inbreeding and how they approach that, no one's really doing it from what I've seen in real life, at least based on what I've
Mm.
read. I've never bred horses together, so I don't really know. Philosophologist at that point.
What do they do? Do they do like cousins in real life or?
Um, I'll essentially what I've seen most common is they will take almost like a sire of two horses that they're trying to bring blood into at the legendary level from kind of just a visual perspective of what we would do, and then they take that legendary and they make it the dad um, on the future great grandchild for the mom and the father side. So if you think you have kind of like the legendary coming up, you'll breed that down the male side to create like the third generation from there, and then down on the mother's side or the great grandmother's side, that dad will be in there twice. So I can send you a chart when we're done.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do something like that.
yeah, and it would only make sense too. Like if you do that with pure Buterins, you're going to be looking at like a Z76 cross or pacer when you're done with it, right? So like we know the odds of a Z70 being a good racer is low just based on how the game's built. You can still do it. Like I've purple refractor? I think it's like a Z40 or Z80 or something Buterin that whoops my ass in class 5 and always has. So this thing has I think over an ETH profit. It's freaking nuts. So
And
they're
then
out
just
there. It's
wait
just rare.
till yeah, wait till someone has a Z45 Naka that's literally only bred from like Z2s or Z1s. Like
Yeah.
someone's gonna do it. If they got the bankroll and you just really want to have like a good horse at that number, someone's gonna take a Z2 and only breed it out all the way to like a Z45 and keep it in Nakamoto. So
Yep.
it's gonna get interesting.
Yeah, it will, especially when too they do more like classified events where like you have to have a higher Z number in order to enter it. You can't enter it with your legendary Nakamotos. So I think they'll expand the game out to that point. Now, how do you feel
I
about
agree.
the current state, the racing environment, the things they're doing with these events, and how they kind of changed point structures and everything they've done? Kind of like the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
I like the no more pity point for fourth place. I like that it's actually easier for me to downclass. I don't know if a lot of people are saying good horses are losing right now. I can kind of say I agree with that, but it's only been like I said, if this game's gonna be here forever, 2 days, me going on a 3-day losing streak is nothing.
Yeah,
So but I do like that they rejigged the class point system. I liked today they brought back the $2.50 races. I mean, those are just nice to have if you still want to make some money on your way to qualifying for the tournament. So that's cool. I'm not going to do that. I just want to race free races. I mean, it's going to cut into profit for a little bit, but if you qualify, you're still going to get some money. I like that they changed that you can't race out of your class just because come up in class if you want to race for big money. That's the whole point. I mean, with Riot Racers, like we see, you have to have the XP to be in the legendary classes or the arrow classes to race for those big pots. So
mm-hmm.
you can either like you gotta work your way up there. So I think with the tournament, a lot of horses are gonna get pushed to C1. Um, I mean, if you're getting pushed to C1, you're qualifying or winning at least, right? So I mean, you can't. Yes, it's gonna suck afterwards, maybe, but you have a fighter's chance in the tournament if you made your way up there. So I like a lot of the changes they make. They're making changes. They're like what they made 3 changes in the past week, and then they just dropped another one on us today. So I'm enjoying it. I'm losing money right now, but one day the things can turn around tomorrow. Like you can just win a big race tomorrow and you're good.
Yeah, not only that, but even for like smaller stables who aren't, used to printing ETH with their horses, like if you just make it past quarterfinals, like that's enough money to change a lot of things. I know the quarterfinals you're not making as much as you were before. I haven't even actually looked at the pay distribution, so maybe I'm talking incorrectly. But I know for like the last one, like if I would have made it through the quarterfinals, it would have made my stable profitable for the first time ever. So like it's like you said, if you're going to be here a while, what we're experiencing today, yesterday, and tomorrow, it's just a blimp.
Yeah,
Now,
and I saw a lot of horses, like you said, a lot of horses that were unprofitable, and then they made the quarterfinals, and now they're profitable.
right.
Changed their whole game around.
Now, do you like the fact that it seems like they're kind of building towards more event style racing versus just the day to day grinding it out?
I think that's what they mean when every horse is gonna have like a viable option to be profitable. Some
Mm,
horses are gonna be day to day horses like Diamondz, Morajo, POP, Rest in Peace. All these good horses, those are day to day horses. Now, like as you can see, it's two different tournaments now. So like weaker horses are going against weaker horses, stronger horses going against stronger horses. So I think some horses are only going to be free tournament racing horses, and some horses are going to be able to grind day to day for profit.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. I'm really curious to see with getting 6 points for a win, how quickly horses move up in class now, and how much that's going to affect their point distribution in the tournament. Because I know like the only horse I was able to qualify, I think I had a 54% show rate, but a 38 or 39% win rate during the tournament qualifiers. So like I was winning pretty often compared to some of the other ones I was seeing. So like instead of being at the top of class three, I definitely would have been in class one. I think so. It's interesting. Have you shifted your focus onto more breeding, or are you still looking for those Z2s unraced and buying them?
Just breeding. I'm just building out Diamond's bloodline. I mean, I know what I have. I know what like I have a good horse. It's a good breeding horse. Dan Chance told me it's a good breeder, so I was like, okay, cool. Um, I don't have them like all my liquidities for racing right now, just because that's where I can make my most gains, and you can make it quick if you win. But also, like I said, you could lose $3,000 in one race like that. So yeah, I'm just breeding in house. I have the Z2 High Ho Silver that I bought. So she's not the best racer, decent breeder. So I always breed her with Diamondz every month. Always make a Z4 exclusive. My buddy, he's breeding. So yeah, we're just more in-house breeding and long-term strategy of building out Diamond's bloodline and trying to control most of it. And yeah, just trying to control it.
And now, what's the story with Mississippi Mud? Because I look at your stable, it's like Z2, Z2, Z6, Z4, Z4, and then Z20.
So Zombie Racing, they have the Dons and Donkeys tournament.
Mm,
So free racing was around. They cut this, which I'm kind of pissed about. He'd advertised a Mutant Ape Yacht Club tournament for
yep,
a Don's tournament and then a Donkey one.
I
So
remember.
yeah, so I was like, oh, I have a chance at winning a Mutant Ape by buying a donkey. I'm gonna go look for the most donkey I can find, the most like fifth, sixth placer that I can find, because that's where you get the points in the donkey tournaments. Bought the horse, raced him in the first donkeys tournament, didn't do so well. I think I might have just gave up halfway, but I was really excited for the Mutant Ape one, and then they said something about prize pools, and that's a whole nother story. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
really like what they're doing, and I like their ambition. But I think announcing the prize pools before the tokens sold was a misstep. Which it's their first big tournament in the style, anyways. So it wasn't going to go 100% smooth. But I hope they learn from that going forward into the next season.
Yeah, that one was rough. I was like, ah.
Because I know that definitely brought in some people who normally aren't big time racers. Looking to see how can they race and participate. So that was a lot of fun. So you've today you recorded, was it episode 11 or episode 12 of your daily show?
11.
11. What have you learned recording those episodes and speaking to all these stables who have experience and been around for a while?
Good question. I've learned a lot of people came from Top Shot. That was a lot of people's entry point into NFTs. Um, a lot of people bought their first horse just trying to get their feet wet in the game. For a lot of people, this is entertain. It starts off as entertainment and then turns into investment afterwards. I've learned, man, I mean, just you learn so much. You learn about people, how breeding, how people look at the game, how people would spend half an Ethereum if they're just starting. Some people would say just get a couple Zabos or a couple this, build out uh, a large stable when you come into the game. Some people say like me, I'm just like get 2 horses, like get really 2 like Z2s or Z3s, and then you can build out from there. So you just learn everybody's perspective and how people perceive and play Zed Run.
I think that's one of the things that I found most fascinating between, your show and seeing everybody on the ZNN that comes through there. Is there's so many different ways to do Zed. For me, I think the most important thing for myself was just to build a strategy, understand my theories, and where I'm willing to compromise, but always use the same stick to measure with. So that way, even if I'm off, a little bit, I still have an understanding of, am I going up or down, and how do I adjust. And like that's one of the things, like why I find your story and your stable so fascinating compared to a lot is because taking big swings traditionally is a method of impatience. But listen to you talk and watching you grow your stable, like you're very, very patient. You're just picking your pitches more selectively than most people are. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I want to have you on, because like I said, it's just fun to watch. I was watching Diamondz and it'd be like 78% profit. And I think at the lowest I've seen Diamondz was like 3. And I'm like, what the heck is he doing to this horse? And then after, reaching out and talking to you, it's like, okay, so there is a method to the madness, and he does know what he's doing and where he's trying to get with doing this. So it's kind of been exciting to kind of follow along with that process and see how you make decisions on it.
Yeah, early on, didn't really know what I was doing, so it's just kind of like, I mean, just imagine like like if you give someone that's their first horse, like the chart's just gonna be over the place, all over the place, and that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my first horse, so take the horse that like anybody learned how to play the game, but just make it really good, and that's what Diamondz is really. But anybody, I mean, I say anybody can do it because I've done it. I mean, like, and I but like you only see the winners, right? So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the funny thing too. When you talk to arbitrage, he's like, everybody knows my monsters, but nobody knows my donkeys. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like, I wonder what their actual swing rate is. How many horses have they taken chances on and been wrong? So if I ever get them on, that's definitely something I want to cover. Just because, like he said, even with the big stables, we all know they're monsters, but how many people actually know the chances they took that were off? Unless they publicly, announce that this horse is going to be the greatest thing since, whatever, and then it just turns out to be shit, and then we never let them live it down. But outside of that, like, who knows?
I never thought of that.
Yeah. Now, what are you hoping or looking forward to, Zed? What do you think needs to happen, if anything?
I think, uh, I think we need a lot of things. I think I'll start with like a more Axie Infinity type model to where if people have these big stables, like coming up for this tournament, if you have 300 horses, let's say you can let people run your horses, even like it's free races, so people can just race your horse for free, and they could qualify it. And if it qualifies, like they'll get a proportion if that horse places or wins. I just want to see people be able to rent out their horses, be able to rent out their stable, or just be able to let the smaller guy that like doesn't have all these assets, or if someone just wants to race Princess of Power or Diamondz on their birthday and go put them in a $500 race, and then they get like 60%, 70% of the cut, like that. That's cool. I want to see something like that. I want to see a coalition of owners, like let the community vote, let us pick on things. Like if you guys want to change it from breeding from ETH to USD, let the people that either like ETH entered, like however much ETH you put into races. So if you put a lot of money into races, that counts as some. If you have a bunch of Genesis and you have Des coin, that counts as some. But let people that put skin into the game have some say over the game they're playing. So if you guys are gonna change breeding, or if you're gonna add breeding minimums, let people vote on if they want that or not. You know what I'm saying? So and just, like, get back more to the community and, like, let us know more stuff, because a lot of people want to watch a Netflix or a Harder They Fall $75,000 race, but just nobody knew about it. So I want to see a lot with Zed, but I'm not bitching. I'll go down with the ship. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of anybody with a good horse, I'm telling, like, and that they won't sell it, they'll probably go down with the ship, because you know the potential you have with this game. So if you have a donkey, it sucks, but I'm telling you, you have a chance at getting a good horse, and if you do, it's honestly life changing. Like, that, full stop, life changing. And who knows, this might be a story you tell your grandkids of how you made your wealth. So I
Isn't
think
that
Zed
crazy to
is
think
gonna
about?
it's so crazy, but I think this is gonna be like the NFL of esports, and they're the first ones, and they're far ahead of anybody. So I think that's where we're going.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I always felt about it. Not when I first got here, but kind of looking at how they've been structuring everything, the partnerships they're gathering, the fact that they're still getting these big partnerships that I know take weeks and months to negotiate, get through legal teams and everything, and the day to day is kind of looking like it's suffering. Like, I agree. Like, this is definitely generational. This isn't your typical Madden or Halo. So I'm happy you share that perspective. And I know you're also involved in. You already talked about Right Racer a little bit. What is that? The only other project you're involved in? And if so, kind of how are you approaching that? Is it up? I don't even know if it's live yet. Is it?
Right racers.
Yeah.
I think it goes. I think they have free racing is live next month, and then, like, the 2D version is live next month, and then I think a Q1 2022 is when they get the 3D version and paid racing.
Okay.
So yeah, that's not live yet. Just holding on to those. Assets are going up in price. I mean, uh, market's starting to move. People are starting to kind of catch on. The Riot Racers coin was at 0.32 when I bought in. So, and now it's at like 0.505. So it's slowly creeping up there. You can only get it on Uniswap if anybody wants to get it. So you got to weigh the pros and cons of gas.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm in Riot. I'm in Crypto Cannabis Club. Yeah, floor kind of tanked on that one, but I did buy one just to flip. Before plants dropped, I bought one under like 3,000 because I know
Mm.
someone would buy it. Because they wanted to get airdrop 2 plants. So I flipped that. So I made my initial investment back. So I don't mind holding them. And plus, with that project, I like those avatars anyways. Like, I
Yeah.
bought ones I like. I didn't buy floor ones. I bought ones I like. So that's me with really any project. Like, people always freak out and, like, say, "Oh, the market's on a dip." Like, "Oh, Ethereum's going up." I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm into projects I like. I have a Zed Run horse. I have Riot Racers, and I got my Crypto Cannabis Club. Like, I'm chilling.
Yep. Yeah, I'm too in Crypto Campus Club, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out, how that develops. It's it's one of those things where, like, for Zed Run, they missed a few drops. They didn't go the way they were planned, but you were at least able to race your horse. And then Breedy came out shortly after that. So I feel like in the last 6 months, Zed Run's come a long way to some of these other assets I've been holding. That's like I still have to wait for the game. So I'm patiently impatient with those.
It's
Now,
kinda nice to see though, right? Because, like, we saw with the ENS token, like, they just rewarded early people out of nowhere, like,
mhm,
people that had an ENS domain. So it's nice to see that in Web3, if you're an early investor or early adopter, you have the chance to just for having faith in a project and believing in it, like, you'll get rewarded if you stick with it long enough.
no, I agree fully. Is there any other projects you wish you would have gotten in on, or you're looking to get in on, or are you just kind of waiting out to see what Riot Racer and Crypto do?
Kinda sad, kinda sad. I had the, like, point 0.7 ETH, before the Redwood City Classic, lost that in, lost that in that race, and then me and my buddy bred. So I wanted to get into the Red Village
Mm.
drop that's today. Didn't get on the whitelist. I was gonna just mint one blood portal. But I'm very picky, you know. Like I'm not a profile pick flipper. I have a lot of friends that flip. Like he'll tell me about projects. Some of them are good. Like he told me about Cosmic Labs, Genesis, and all this shit, and I didn't get one, and then they pumped. But I don't like it. It's too risky for me. Like, you know, like I'm
Yeah.
very calculated risk. I'm fine buying a 1.1 ETH horse unnamed unraced just because I felt like I did enough research and I came up with my own theory, and like I felt fine taking a swing on that one, you know? So I don't like just going for any like project just because I could flip it, you know?
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at too, because like there's been a lot of opportunities I've seen, but one, crypto moves so fast. Like by the time I purchase it and I think it's at a price that I want to sell it at, like the market can evaporate. You know, and like you said, we saw that at Crypto Cannabis Club, where there was I think 3 people each holding close to 400, and once the plants dropped, they sold half their inventory like overnight. So like for me, that risk, I agree, especially with gas the way it's been. Like no, no thanks. And then
Yeah.
two, like I don't want to be that guy who has a whole bunch of transactions that took part in a rug, because there's been some projects that are just so obvious to me, right? And if you don't change your wallet address and you keep your horses in that stable, or whatever you're doing, that transaction history is there forever. So when people can start easily categorizing your transactions, and you're not only judged by what you own but what you did, like I didn't want to be a part of that. So that's why I've kind of been really selective, because I want to make sure that I keep my standards of who I am as a person intact, navigating this world of crypto.
Yeah, on Lucky Trader, I was watching his interview with Zed Insights, and he said like they're trying to label wallets. So like a wallet, like if they just mint and then always flip, you're gonna be able to go
Mm-hmm.
on Lucky Trader and be like type in this wallet and be like, oh, maybe I can get a good deal from this guy because this guy's a flipper. Oh, this guy has a Diamond Hands wallet. I shouldn't even really go offer to him because he never sells his projects. So yeah, it all lives on forever, but it even goes even deeper because now people are gonna research your wallets. It lives forever, and now like there's gonna be a service like Lucky Trader, like you can just look and see what a wallet does, and then possibly get good deals from them.
Yeah. Or if you see a wallet with no horses, make a three offer on a horse. It's probably arbitrage.
Yeah, he's got to change up his game, right? Because
He has
you
been. He
can't.
has been. I've
Okay.
been seeing a couple people post, "Oh, I got a really high offer on my horse," and then I saw it transferred to other stable, and then it beat me in arbitrage's stable. So it's been interesting to
Mm,
see how they've had to, even elevate that game, because, like you said, the owner of Princess of Power just made me an offer, which means I have something.
exactly. It was too easy. You
So,
just told me. Yeah, you just told me what I have.
so what's
It's like
what's your future plans for like you, your stable, kind of what you're trying to create? I know you started the daily show. What was the decision making process to go daily?
consistent. You can learn a lot, and I was a pool boy. I would clean pools just out here in Seattle, and I'm sure you can imagine how that is, especially in the fall time and winter out here. It's raining every damn day and it's frozen. It just sucks. I was making good money, but I mean, like I said, when you get a horse like Diamondz, that's life changing. So I can afford to take the chance. I'm 21 to go full time YouTube. I don't need to try and monetize my YouTube because I have a horse that can pay my bills. Like I'm just fine on
Mm,
that. But just building YouTube, I mean, I do it Monday through Friday because like I gave myself my own job. I wake up now, like I'm passionate. I don't feel like I'm going to work. Like I wake up to go walk the dogs in the morning and I'm like, thank God I am not cleaning pools in this weather today. Like because this is trash. I'm not here for this. So I just went daily because I was like, this if this is what I'm gonna do, this is what you got to do. And then I just kind of I watch a lot of Gary Vee, a lot of other content creators. They say be consistent, concise, and like unavoidable. And I'm just like I'm trying to be all of those things. So like you really can't avoid me in the Zed Run community because I fucking post every day and I talk
Yep.
to almost everyone. And then I'm just very consistent, and there's a lot to learn. Like, I'm 21. I would never be able to talk to someone like Archibald Royal Family, who's a hedge fund manager, if it wasn't for a Zed Run game. You know what I'm saying? So, if and just in this since 2021, the whole world's changed, right? Like me and you were
Mm-hmm.
talking uh through Zoom. Zoom is or Melon, but we did Zoom on mine. Like, it's perfectly normal to just have an interview. You don't got to be face to face. You don't even have to know the person, right? But as long as like you have a basic understanding of someone, people love long form conversation. I mean, you can see that with Joe Rogan and just the rise of podcasts over time. People love long form conversation. I loved all the podcasts. I listened to everybody. When I was working, I bought YouTube Premium so you could just pause or like turn off your phone and you can still keep it on in the background and listen. So I would just listen. I'd listen to your videos. I'd listen to Zed News Network. I'd listen to literally everybody on YouTube. I listen to everybody on Twitch, and just I like long form conversation. So I know if I like it, someone might like it. So I was like, I just want to go talk to people that I think I can learn from, people that I've looked up to, other content creators, all that stuff. I just want to kind of put faces to stables, and so that's why I went daily. And yeah, just being
Cool.
consistent.
Well, I definitely appreciate the hustle, and like I said, I really enjoy interacting with you. And whenever you answer questions in people's discords or even on Twitter, like you can tell your answers are thought out. It's not coming from an emotional rash place, and I enjoy watching the journey of your stable, man. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, man. I enjoy watching your YouTube journey as well. I think anybody that's making videos right now, like, we're in a very good space because you never know. They haven't made a content creators fund or anything like that. So I mean, we're just being consistent. We're making YouTube videos, and I think we'll be well rewarded in the future for our work.
And even now, I'm having a blast doing it. So
Yeah, it's still
you
a
know,
fun game, but
oh yeah,
I think they're gonna give us a little shake back because, like, I mean, we love the game. A lot of people love the game. We're just talking about our passions, and it's fun. And that's kids make a living on TikTok doing that these days, or YouTube.
right,
You can make a living doing whatever you want. So
yep. So
I think
all
we'll
right,
be
man.
good.
Well, I appreciate you giving me your time. I know you're super busy. So good luck to you during the tournament,
You as
and
well.
I'll see you on the track, man.
Sweet. Thank you, man.
Cool.